This really is gonna be the make or break moment for this laptop. Every laptop that claims it's a laptop for creators ends up falling short for me. Either it has insane processing power and needs to be plugged in literally all of the time, or it has great battery life and has no processing power and can't encode videos and struggles under load. Or sometimes you get these weird hybrid laptops that have decent specs, pretty good battery life, but a horrible screen and like no SD card reader. I mean, putting this P16 through the paces by literally editing this YouTube video on it and only on it, using battery life as much as possible, it's gonna be the determining factor for me. Okay, the ASUS ProArt P16 is here in this gigantic box. On paper, it looks really good. The thing about laptops is, especially for creators, they always promise the moon and back and end up going short on those promises. Oh my goodness. Dude, it's been raining non-stop here for like 2 weeks straight. This is so disgusting. Look at this. Look at that. I'm so over it. So back to what I was saying. Laptops tend to promise the whole world. We've got this raw power. You've got the new graphics cards that can handle all this stuff. It's more efficient. And then what ends up happening is like 80% of them just don't stack up. That's why so many creatives use desktop PCs. Constant power source, real raw power, no need to worry about efficiency. But we are starting to come at this crossroads where a lot of new machines are efficient, they are good on battery, and they are delivering power. And ASUS thinks that this is a really, really good one, a really good contender. So I'm gonna slot it into my workflow over the next 2 weeks. I'm going to make this my dedicated machine to see how well it actually stacks up in my creative workflow. And to be honest with you, that makes me a little nervous because there's something really consistent about just sitting down at your desktop editing PC and getting to work. And not to mention you have to do all the setup, install your software, move your assets, move your templates, all these things. So if you do all of that and it lets you down, that just restricts my ability to work. But I have hope. Let's check it out. ASUS is always like, I don't know, man, they're always killing the design process. I feel like they put so much effort and attention into design. Maybe it's just me, I feel like a lot of companies don't do that much, aside from like Apple, of course. Whoa. Oh, it comes with a whole laptop bag. You see what I mean? Like, it literally comes with a laptop bag. That's crazy. It's a backpack, dude. That's crazy. This is actually a really nice backpack. That's wild. Oh, here it is. It's heavy. Oh my goodness. It's beautiful. It's got this new coating to resist fingerprints. I don't know how they did it, but wow. Oh my goodness, such a beautiful device.
Setup was simple, what you would expect from pretty much any Windows 11 laptop, and that includes the endless need to go through and decline Microsoft 365 subscriptions. Out of the box, it did not have much battery power, so I did have to charge it, and I went ahead and put the ASUS pen to charge as well, since this laptop is compatible with that. I'm not gonna lie, I never really understood using a pen with a laptop since it can't fold flat, but I guess to some people that's a preference, so they threw it in there. I probably won't use it much. I went through the process of setting up my Microsoft account, allowing Windows to install updates. From there, all I had to do was get started on setting up my software.
Okay, wrapped up for the day. Pretty much got everything installed. I installed DaVinci Resolve, Adobe Photoshop, and Adobe Lightroom. Those are my top 3 creative apps that I use regularly. Now I just have to transfer over some of my assets, like my video project assets, fonts, templates, things like that. Should be pretty simple, but we're almost done and should be ready to go by tomorrow.
ASUS built this laptop with a nano black AFM coated finish, which is supposed to be smudge resistant, and it does resist a little bit of smudges, but I was still able to get it pretty messy. It's a little over half an inch thin and weighs about 4 pounds, partly due to that 90 watt-hour battery inside. You're not short on ports, as you've got a USB 4.0 Type-C, a USB 3.2 Gen 2, an SD card reader 7.0, an audio combo jack, and even a dedicated HDMI port. You've also got the DC power and adapter, but you can also charge over USB-C. And it is packing the latest Wi-Fi 7. Honestly, it's a beautiful laptop. The touchpad is huge, the keyboard feels really good, and the backlight looks awesome too. It's also packed with 6 speakers, which sound incredible. I basically never used headphones. I always preferred to listen to everything through the speakers. And if you buy one of these, it comes with a 3-month subscription of Adobe Creative Cloud, which includes Photoshop, Lightroom, After Effects, and Premiere Pro. But the biggest question on my mind when I'm testing a laptop like this is, how does it actually integrate into my day-to-day life? Forget the specs for a second. What does that mean for me as a creator?
Good morning, guys. I'm at the studio a little early today because they're doing repairs at the house from the flood damage. I don't know if I told you guys about that, but long story short, after I closed on a new house, first floor flooded, had to do like an entire mitigation thing. It's been like 4 months. They got there at like 8:30 this morning, so I had to come here early. I don't want to dive right into testing the ProArt, so I think I'm gonna go do some racing sim stuff. Have a little bit of fun for the morning.
It didn't go well. I'm still getting the hang of sim racing, and I'm getting a little bit better at F1, but it is definitely taking some time.
For you guys to understand how this is gonna integrate into my workflow, you have to understand my workflow. So in my day-to-day, I'm either planning, editing, or shooting. And I try not to stack them all on the same day because that gets a little bit overwhelming. Today is Thursday, we're wrapping up the end of the week. Don't have too much crazy going on. I have to film a couple of things from a sponsored video, and then I have to start editing that. So we're gonna do that and plan. This is a very rare occasion when I have all 3 things to do at once. But it's gonna be light work. So I'm gonna start off checking some emails. I'm going to edit some footage. Well, actually I'm going to film some footage first, then edit. And that'll pretty much be our day. The biggest thing is, you guys probably know this, I usually dock into this setup over here, depending on what I'm using. Typically it's either my ASUS ZenBook Duo or my Surface Pro. So I'm gonna set this up for docking so that I can use it, because this is kind of like a more comfortable scenario. I don't like using a laptop all the time.
The ProArt P16 is a Copilot Plus PC. So instead of Googling, I fired up Copilot to ask how to put this laptop or enable this laptop for clamshell mode, since I forgot. It's been a little while. Once I had that, it was really easy to connect it to my dock and have this docked up at my dual screen workstation. And it did pretty well. There was one minor issue where one monitor wouldn't switch to 60 Hertz without lowering the resolution, but a quick restart fixed that for me.
Couple of little quirks that I'm noticing with this laptop. One, not a super big deal, but the SD card reader, it didn't work out of the box. I had to go download the driver. Maybe that's because I have a review unit. I'm not exactly sure. 2, ASUS ProArt displays, beautiful displays, well known for their quality and reputation in the creative field. But the ASUS color profiles were messing with things. So when I went to go edit a video, exported a photo from the video and brought it onto here. Well, actually it was on my phone first, and then I brought it onto the ASUS laptop. I noticed that it looked a little washed out and different than what it looked like on my phone and in the actual video. So what I ended up doing was actually removing all the color profiles and just using the standard sRGB profile. I'm not sure if I did something wrong, but you can't go wrong with just defaulting to sRGB. I might be losing some things because I'm not using the P3. But I'm gonna look into it more, but it's really important to have a consistent color space across all of my devices. That's a huge one, because I don't wanna edit a video on one computer and then it look completely different on another, or a different device, or photos and things like that.
The next day, I needed to make an Instagram carousel. Now, typically for these carousels, I use artboards in Photoshop, and I load in a ton of photos and then put text effects on it. I'll highlight subjects, put the text behind the subjects, use different fonts, all kinds of things, and it handled it flawlessly. I mean, it did not even stutter. Now, you guys know I have a lot of faith in my Surface Pro 11, but even it stutters a little bit in situations like this. This is probably thanks to the NPU acceleration of the Ryzen AI 9 HX370 and the dedicated RTX 5070 laptop GPU putting in a ton of work. Speaking of the Ryzen chip and the NVIDIA GPU, how much fun can you have with this thing?
Okay, this is not a gaming laptop. It's got a 5070 in it. It's got a 60 hertz display by default, unless you opt for the 120 hertz version, which I'll get to in a minute. But that doesn't change the fact that I'm a gamer. I like to game. So if I'm buying a laptop, primarily I'm gonna be using it for video editing and creative tasks, but I might want to game here and there. So how well does it do? Yo, this looks insane.
Safe to say, it can game, even on the 5070. And Ready or Not with DLSS on, I was averaging about 60 frames per second. And after adjusting some of the settings in Formula 1 to balance with DLSS, I was getting around 100 frames per second.
And this is running on battery power, that's crazy.
Leveraging DLSS 4 on this 5070 is gonna give you the ability to play AAA games on medium to high settings. Just keep in mind that the screen has a 60 hertz refresh rate, so you're really not gonna benefit from going over 60 frames per second.
Honestly, it's been a really long weekend. I didn't have much of a chance to test anything on this thing, so we're just kind of jumping in straight into the week. I got some Photoshop edits that I need to do. I think at the very least we have to test this with some basic stuff first, right? Like, can it handle Photoshop on battery power? How long does that battery last? Does it start to lag up? Those are the basic questions I want to know, and we'll progressively make the workflow a little bit more intense as I incorporate it more and more into my routine.
I know what you guys are probably thinking. This guy is doing way too much simple stuff. Get to the nitty gritty. Show us if the laptop's actually any good. But I promise you guys, this is important. Having used multiple devices, disconnecting a laptop from a charger changes everything. That's when Windows flips into balanced mode. That's when the power consumption of the CPU and GPU get limited. So how does it actually perform in that kind of situation? Well, with the P16, it was exactly the same. No lags, no stuttering. The machine was smooth and efficient.
So I'm actually gonna go run some time trial laps over on my F1 sim. I'm gonna have a top-down camera and then a camera like over my shoulders. And I wanna see how well I can pull that footage in and do like a multi-cam edit. Me and my boys Joel and John, we have a little time trial thing going on where we're trying to beat each other's times, and I just spent the past 2.5 hours trying to wreck their times, and I finally beat both of them on Austria, and I'm pretty proud of that. It took me a really long time to do that, but my wrists are pretty much done for, but I did it. 107.94. I got them beat. All right, so we gotta load up a couple of clips, put them on the timeline, and create a multi-cam set.
Copied my files, got ready to edit, but as usual, something always comes up.
I just remembered that I have to go pick up a Walmart Plus order in the next like 30 minutes. So unfortunately, I can't edit this stuff right here, right now at the studio. So I'm gonna take the laptop home. Maybe give it a shot there, or maybe I'll just come back tomorrow. I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I didn't get anything done that night, but I did get straight to work the following morning. I booted up the P16, checked my battery life. We were at 64%, so we were good to go, and started to get to work on this Instagram reel that I've been trying to do for the past day. I thought it'd be the perfect opportunity to test the ASUS Dial and DaVinci Resolve, but for some reason the Dial software wasn't working, so I had to put that to the side and just get straight to work. And to my surprise, the P16 did incredibly well. It handled this project like a champ. It was blowing through the multicam workflow like it was a full-blown desktop, switching between one scene and another scene flawlessly. It was making the cuts. I was able to add titles. There weren't any issues at all. And the battery life was holding up pretty decently as well. Listen guys, color me impressed. This laptop has impressed me so far.
I was having an issue yesterday with the ASUS Dial, which is like this little hardware dial built into the trackpad, and it lets you basically map it to a lot of different functions in different apps. So like Adobe Photoshop, DaVinci Resolve, you can do certain things. In Resolve, it lets you like move forward a frame or move back a frame or move forward a second, move back a second. It wasn't working, but once I restarted the PC, then the app was working. And it's actually pretty neat. So I can physically just spin the little dial here on the trackpad and make micro adjustments to the timeline. I can go forward a frame, forward 2 frames, however many frames I need to go. It's pretty cool, and I could see it being really useful
and other features like Lightroom, I'm gonna dive in and see what I can do with it in Lightroom. Okay, so when I went to go try and set up the ASUS Dial with Adobe Lightroom is an app listed. But unlike DaVinci Resolve, where when you go in, there are specific functions that are built into the app that you can assign to the wheel, Lightroom doesn't have any, which is really interesting because I feel like Lightroom would be one of the best use cases of something like this because you have those sliders. So you could manually, scroll the wheel for exposure or contrast or white levels or whatever. It's not there, which I think is because ASUS has to build it into the app. They have to go in and manually add all these functions into the ASUS Dial software. Definitely a weak point, but you can go in and customize your own. So you can set like the left scroll to a keyboard shortcut, which means if Lightroom has a keyboard shortcut to reduce brightness by 1, you could set it to that keyboard shortcut, but it's not quite as plug and play as just like going into the app and setting it to a function of Lightroom. Kind of a bummer. All right, this is when the stakes get real. We've done pretty much everything we can here at the studio this week. It's Thursday afternoon, I'm getting ready to take off. I'm not coming to the studio tomorrow. Typically, I would edit my YouTube videos at my desk setup here. Instead, I'm gonna push myself out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna take all of the footage home with me that I have so far and start editing this video on the laptop. And the goal is to be able to finish the entire video on the laptop. Guess we'll see how it goes. When I'm editing a YouTube video, a lot is being put on the computer. I'm talking a 10-bit 4K Ultra HD workflow. I've got A-roll, B-roll, voiceovers, fusion effects, all kinds of things. Sometimes I'm doing multicam setup where I have to have multiple clips at the same time. Sometimes I'm stacking clips on top of each other, doing J-cuts. It's taxing to say the least. And this was smooth. Not without error, but smooth. From simple things like having an SD Express 7.0 card reader to the power backed by the Ryzen HX370 and the 5070 RTX graphics card. And as of September 12th, you can even get this in a 5090 configuration with 24 gigs of GDDR7 and a 16-inch 4K 120Hz Lumina Pro OLED display. But you guys know I don't like talking about specs, so what does all that mean? Well, the model I was given has 2 terabytes of storage, 64 gigs of RAM, and the RTX 5070 in it. And while I'm in DaVinci Resolve editing video, that 9th generation RTX 5070 supports H.264 and H.265 422 codecs, which means the GPU is putting in a ton of work to encode and decode these videos on the fly. And that Ryzen AI 9 HX370 has an integrated NPU that's helping offset a lot of those neural tasks that DaVinci Resolve uses, such as fusion effects and things like that. That blazing fast RAM and storage allows me to access the video files quickly, so there's no buffering or stuttering. And then ASUS is known for their ProArt displays in the creative field. These are gorgeous displays, and I have to say, it's amazing to be able to edit on one of these. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have its flaws. I mean, this is a very powerful and capable laptop for creatives, but battery-wise, it has some room for improvement. I think when you're doing intense tasks like video editing, you're gonna get about 3 to 4 hours out of it, which isn't quite as comfortable as I would hope for something that I'm using on the go. With that said, if you're just doing light browsing, maybe some light Photoshop, you'll get more. But if you sit down and plan to do a video edit, you're not gonna get much more than 3 to 4 hours out of it. When compared to something like a MacBook Pro, it could do a lot better. But compared to other Windows PCs on the market, this is a beast. There's nothing left to say about this laptop. If you're a creator, you're probably gonna love it. I was able to plow through this edit without any issues whatsoever. There were 2 times DaVinci Resolve crashed because I had a GPU issue. And I really do think that that was just related to driver problems. Because as soon as I restarted it and loaded the project up again, no issues. I mean, you've got all the ports you could ask for. You've got all the processing power you could ask for. You can even game on it. The display is beautiful. The form factor is beautiful. It's not really heavy. Battery life could be better, but it's not horrible. It's really hard to find something that I just don't like about this thing. And honestly, it's a shame that I have to send it back. I mean, I've got the ZenBook Duo, so it's really not that bad. Still, I'm gonna be sad to part ways with it. If you're a creative professional and you're in the market for a laptop, I think this is a serious contender that you should check out. There's really nothing left to say on it. Yeah, that's it.